Hey, welcome to Losing It 2025. This is the Week 20 supplemental update. I have a little something more that I'd like to share with you that I didn't have time to include in my previous update video. So I'm going to cut right to the chase here. As you saw on the thumbnail for this video, I started out at 334 pounds. I'm now down to 274 pounds. So I have lost 60 pounds, which means I am more than 50% of the way toward my goal of losing 100 pounds in 2025. And I could not be happier. Eating a whole food, plant-based diet has really been working for me. I am over halfway to my goal. And how should you approach that halfway point? It's significant, it matters. And one of the things I think we can do often that is a mistake is become so fixated on our end goal that we fail to really recognize the milestones that we're hitting along the way. And so my thinking was, what should a person do, or what should I do, having achieved the halfway point on my goal? Is there anything that I should do to mark that occasion? And I thought, you know what? The school year is getting ready to end. We're almost done. Summer vacation is a day away. Kid you not, tomorrow is the last day of school. Saturday, we've got graduation, taking care of a few little business things around the campus over the next couple of days. But really, summer vacation starts on Saturday. So yay for us. Happy about that. Very, very happy. So I thought, given the fact that I'm coming up on a transition point in my daily activities and that I am a little bit over 50% of the way towards my goal, it would be a good time to stop and assess the situation. So with school being over, we often talk about the 3 R's in school being reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? I thought, what if I had a 3 R's of being at the halfway point on reaching your goal? And so here we have the 3 R's of making it halfway to your goal. The first of the 3 R's is rejoice, right? When you have achieved 50+% of your goal in less than 50% of the time that you gave yourself to achieve that goal, that is a good thing and it is worth celebrating. So the first R is rejoice. Find a way to celebrate your success. For me, that way is, at least in part, this video. This video is a celebration of the fact that I am 60+% of the way towards achieving my goal of losing 100 pounds in 2025. But here is a caveat to that. In your rejoicing, let's not celebrate with food, right? For me, at least, I do not want to celebrate having lost 60 pounds by going out and having some huge meal or some cheat meal that's actually going to set me back a couple of days or a week even. I don't want to do that. In the past, when I would try to lose weight, if I experienced a modicum of success, I'd feel like I had earned a cheat day. But here's the thing. This time around, I don't feel like I need a cheat day because the way that I've been eating is so satisfying all by itself. A cheat day is not necessary. Now, that's not to say that you can't go out for a special meal, but there's no reason that that meal has to be off plan. There are lots, for me at least, of vegan options at some restaurants that I really enjoy. In fact, there's a place in Fort Worth that my wife and I like to attend called Spiral Diner, and everything on the menu is vegan, from the breakfasts to the dinner desserts, all of it vegan, and it's wonderful. Now, even there, I got to be a little careful because they do use a lot of oil. Just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's healthy. And so, just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's whole foods, right? Or even plant-based. It could be highly processed. I guess it is still plant-based, but you know what I'm saying. It could be highly processed. For goodness sake, Oreos are vegan. Did you know that? Oreos technically are vegan, but they're not whole food. And I'm not interested in eating Oreos, especially since I couldn't dip them in milk because, I don't drink milk at the moment. So honestly, that's one thing I'm not sure I would ever go back to drinking on a regular basis. I loved milk and I drank milk a lot and all the time, but now that I've not been drinking it for, 4 or 5 months, the thought of drinking milk is not appealing to me at the moment. So, interesting. My Oreos may have to be dipped in coffee if I ever eat them.
Smell the fresh roasted coffee.
In the future, which I love me some coffee, and an Oreo dipped in coffee is not too bad.
Good to the last drop.
I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Let me get back to the point. So number one, the first R is rejoice. Take some time to celebrate. Share the good news with some friends. Do something special. Maybe go to a movie, go for a walk someplace nice. Create a dream board, a celebration board. Take pictures of yourself. Go buy some new clothes. Hey, that's a great idea. What if, having reached that 50% mark on your weight loss goal, you celebrate it by going out and buying a set of clothes that actually fit you, because everything you own right now is super baggy, if you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, find a way to celebrate that doesn't involve actually cheating on your diet. Does that make sense? That's what I would recommend. So the first R is rejoice. The second R is reflect. Reflect on what you've been doing, your practice. What is your practice? And reflect on what parts of that practice are working well and what parts could probably afford to be modified a little bit, or what parts maybe really need to be changed. I'll give you an example of each one of those things. As I reflect, and I have been reflecting on my weight loss journey over the last 4.5 months, one of the things that has been very, very helpful is weighing myself every day. Weighing myself on a daily basis and tracking those numbers and using those numbers to have real-time feedback so that I can see how eating late last night affected my weight this morning, or how having a really light dinner impacted how I felt when I woke up, and comparing that to the numbers on the scale. Weighing myself regularly has been a huge benefit in regards to tracking my progress and helping me to stay motivated, or correcting me maybe when I started to get off track a little bit by eating too much or eating too late, or maybe eating too much of a particular thing that was causing me to not lose weight as quickly as I had been. So weighing myself regularly, huge plus. Now, one thing that I have been doing that I think I'm at a point that I'm ready to modify a little bit, now I do mean just a little bit, is tracking my food, right? I have been super faithful about tracking my food every day, every meal, even down to the snacks. I had a little digital scale that I've been using, measuring cups, measuring spoons, really, really just tracking everything so that I could see and understand exactly what I was eating and how much of it I was eating. And that helped me keep track of my macros. It also helped me to retrain myself regarding what was an appropriate portion, because my sense of portion control was completely out of whack. I mean, to me, if a little was good, more was better, and if more was better, a lot more was best. That was kind of how I approached food and eating. And so measuring and tracking everything that I ate over the last 4 months has been a really helpful thing to do. That having been said, last weekend, I had a lot going on. My scale ran out of batteries this week, and I was in a situation where I didn't have the opportunity to measure my food. I didn't know exactly how much it was that I was eating, and I honestly didn't know how the particular dish I was eating was made, and I didn't have any. Long story short, I'm going to quit making excuses. I did not track my food on Saturday or Sunday of this last week. And I was really nervous about it because it was the first time that I had not tracked my food. It's the first time that I had not tracked my food really since the beginning of the year. And I was worried that it might have a negative effect on my weight loss. But much to my surprise, I lost 3 pounds last week. And then I realized something. Tracking my food and trying to stay within a particular caloric budget over the last 4 months has begun to generate in me this sense of needing to spend my entire budget, right? It's kind of like when you're the head of a department and you work for the government or for a company, and your department is given a certain amount of money each year in your fiscal budget. And they tell you, make sure you spend all of the money that is in your budget. Otherwise, you won't get as much money next year. So if you want your department to have enough money, spend everything that you have so that you can still maintain that same budget or maybe get an increase in your budget moving forward. Because if at the end of the year you haven't spent your whole budget, what that is telling your higher ups is that you didn't need that much of a budget, and so they cut back your funding. So there's this idea in the business world and in government where whatever budget you're given, man, you better spend all of it. Well, I found myself applying that same thinking to my caloric budget. I would get home at the end of the day and I wouldn't necessarily be hungry anymore, but I would look at my tracker and I'd say, I've still got 500 calories left in my budget. Well, I could afford to have this, or I could afford to have an apple and peanut butter because, my macros are showing that I still have 10% more calories from fat that I can afford in my budget. So, I'm going to go ahead and have that apple and peanut butter. But here's the problem. I wasn't hungry. I didn't need the apple and peanut butter. But the fact that I saw that those calories were still available in my budget actually made me want to spend those calories and to consume more food. And what I noticed over the weekend was when I was hungry, I ate. And when I was not hungry anymore, I stopped. And so I'm thinking now that I've come to the point where I have retrained myself regarding portion sizes and where I have a better sense of which foods are healthy and which foods are not healthy and how much of those foods I should have on a given daily basis. I still plan to track my food the majority of the time, but I'm going to be more sensitive to whether or not I'm hungry and whether or not I actually need to spend those extra calories from that caloric budget. And sometimes when the circumstances warrant it, I'm not going to be so legalistic about tracking every morsel of food that comes across my menu or my dinner plate. Now, I need to be very careful with that. I need to be very careful and not to use that as an excuse to become careless. So I'm going to continue to watch the scale very closely, continue to track my foods most of the time, but I'm probably going to give myself a little bit more grace in that area. And I'm going to try very hard to be more mindful about how I'm feeling and whether I actually need to spend those calories in that caloric budget. So that is one example of how reflecting on your practice can work. Some things are good. Some things maybe need to be modified, but then there's another example, and that is what needs to be added. What needs to be added to my practice that I haven't been doing? And as I think about it, the answer is very clear. It's exercise, particularly strength training.
We are here to pop you up.
Now, I've already upped my step goal to 10,000 steps per day, which I did very consistently through the month of April, and I've continued doing, though I need to make sure that I'm staying on track with that and not slack off at all. So you can expect to hear more from me about my step count. And I'm thinking that over the summer, I may need to boost that from 10,000 maybe to 15,000, since I'll have more time to dedicate to going on walks and things of that nature. But in addition to that, I'm not going to say I'm planning, I'm not going to say I want, I'm not going to say I'm saying I am going to begin doing strength training. Now, that may not always be at the gym. Sometimes it may be at home with barbells. Some days it may be with body weight resistance exercises like push-ups and squats, body weight squats, things like that, whatever the case might be. But I'm going to move my exercise beyond simply walking and to begin to do more strength training at least 3 times a week, moving forward, starting as soon as summer vacation hits. So that is next week. Yes, I'm going to start doing that next week. And so that is, again, a result of that reflection. So again, we've rejoiced and we've reflected. And as a result of that reflection, we've made some modifications to our plan. Reaffirmed some things we were doing, modified some things that we are doing that maybe we're going to do a little differently, and then added some new things that need to be added in order to propel that continued weight loss forward. And that brings me to the third R, which is recommit to the modified plan. So again, I've rejoiced and celebrated my progress. I've reflected on my practice and made modifications to it. And now I am recommitting to this modified plan. I am going to double down on my commitment to lose that other 40 pounds within, not just really, I don't want to lose it within the year. I want to lose it no later than late October. That's really my goal. I want to save November and December, for other goals, for planning for future goals. But obviously, if I need to bleed over into that time frame, I will. But I would love to have completed this goal of 100 pounds lost in 10 months rather than in 12. So that's my goal. I've rejoiced, reflected, and I've recommitted to this modified plan, and I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next. I hope that you'll continue to join me. Please subscribe, like, and comment if you have anything to share. I'd love to hear what you're committed to, how you rejoice when you've achieved or made progress toward a goal. What is your process of reflection, and what plan to improve your life, whether it's weight loss or just getting healthier or growing spiritually or growing in your relationship? What plan have you recommitted to or committed to as you move forward in your own life? I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and have a blessed day.